All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck, along with Jordan Bianchi, and we are two motorsports writers for The Athletic who happen to know nothing about what tires will do in a given race,
Nobody
along
knows.
with
Nobody
everybody
knows.
else in the entire industry. Exactly. Nobody knows anything, Jordan. Nobody.
We said this last week on this show. We were ahead of everybody. We said that nobody knows anything, and what happened on Saturday or Friday could be completely different on Saturday. When it comes to tires here at Bristol, nobody has any freaking clue. Like, whatever you think is going to happen, just expect the opposite. That's Bristol.
I mean, it's pretty unbelievable. Like, going back to last weekend, when I'm asking these drivers, hey, what do you think is going to happen? It could be a little bit cooler on that Saturday night at Bristol. People are like, yeah, you really don't know. It's anybody's guess. But it was kind of like in the back of everybody's mind, like, it's probably going to be a normal race. Like, right? Like Chase Elliott says last week, hey, you've got to set up your car for a completely normal race. Otherwise, in the small chance that it's not, you'll be totally out to lunch and you'll be screwed. So then you get to practice yesterday, Friday, and, it's like, oh, everybody, we're watching. And it's like the first group. Oh, yeah, like no tire wear. And I think
Nothing.
Justin Haley or something ran 60 laps. Then second group goes, Ryan Blaney in practice ran, 80 laps or something? Mm-hmm. No issues whatsoever. Really no wear. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I guess if it's a temperature sensitive thing, even though it's not a blazing hot summer, but it'll be a little bit cooler, at night than it was during practice, but it's no big deal. Unless I'm completely wrong, I think that every single driver and crew member and crew chief and everybody left and went to bed last night, Friday night, thinking, no, this will not be an issue whatsoever. I mean, you were told afterwards by the winning crew chief, I would have bet my house. Adam Stevens tells you, I would have bet my house that this would not have been a tire wear race. And 30 laps in, lo and behold,
not even
the tire wear race. Unbelievable.
So to your point, this is something I'm going to probably write in The Athletic later, is I went and talked to a bunch of drivers, talked to a bunch of crew chiefs. And the question I asked every single one of them was, when did you know that this was going to be a completely opposite race? And they all said part of their answer was, we went into this race expecting it to be a typical Bristol race in terms of tire wear. So not quite maybe the level of what it was in the spring, but certainly more, closer to that. And then within about 20 laps or so, everybody basically realized, oh, hell, this is not what we thought it was going to be. Actually, Denny Hamlin said, like, lap 2, he had in retrospect, he probably knew on lap 2 because the way things were. Joey Logano knew fairly quickly as well. Some of the crew chiefs I talked to said we could see it on the timing charts and how the speeds were quickly, not picking up or staying steady. They were quickly falling down. And Tyler Reddick goes, I was driving behind the 66 car and I saw like a chunk of rubber coming off the car. And he goes, that was when I knew. And so everybody knew really quickly within about 30, 40 laps of what this race was going to be like. And everything went out the window. And that's what we got. And I'm cool with it, man. Like, this was good. This was fun. It was chaotic. It was dramatic. It was exciting. It was unpredictable. You had a lot of contact and physicality in this race because of the varying speeds that drivers, some guys were saving tires, other guys were on fresher rubber and trying to blaze through. Because of that, you had a lot of contact. Like, this in a lot of respects was old school Bristol. It was pretty good. Like, I mean, yeah, you could nitpick this, and there's some things that we can talk about. But this is what close to what it needs to be going forward. Maybe not to this level, but we said on this show recently, like, if you're going to go to the two extremes from what Bristol was in the spring to what Bristol is now, the direction you end up on needs to be closer to what we saw tonight.
Yeah, it's so fascinating too, because like you're you have a great point here about it being old Bristol. And obviously the way that everybody got there is bizarre, right? But the crazy thing, so that first run looks like it's going to be crazy, right? Because nobody knew that they were supposed to be saving tires or going conservative tires. So.
And there's no going back. Like once you if you're going to start saving your tires, you need to start right away, because at that point it's too late.
So that's when you saw a lot of these guys get in trouble and go laps down. Austin Dillon's playoffs were pretty much over immediately, right? Like, because if he ends up missing the next round by 14 points and finished 28th, 4 laps down, if he hadn't had those trouble early and he was able to, say, all right, we're going to take conservative at the start or whatever. And, it would have been a whole different story. All he would have really had to do, it's not easy, but if he gets a top 15, he's probably moving on. So like a lot of guys, nights got set back or ruined right away. Kyle Larson, obviously talking about, they were frustrated. They got caught by the Josh Berry car, with catching on fire and stuff. And then, Cliff Daniels asked him if it was a good race. And he said, I would have said so, which is right. Because the thing is, Jordan, yes, there was high tire wear. Yes, there was a lot of craziness going on, but that is a part of motorsports, just as fuel mileage racing is, or, the people that were tonight saying, oh, this is a gimmick. This is a gimmick. I really disagree with that. I don't think that a tire that wears out a lot is a gimmick. This is what people, the entire time, everybody's been screaming about this car, you can't pass, you can't pass, you can't pass, you can't pass. And so everybody's been saying that Goodyear, save us, bring tires that wear out. And yes, were these excessively wearing out? They were, sure. But this wasn't even the tire wear race, in the sense that all the chaos tonight was caused by the tire wear. This was an action-packed race. Like you said, it was old Bristol, where people were moving each other out of the way. People were aggressively racing. This wasn't caution after caution after caution because people were blowing tires. No, this was caution because people were getting into multi-car incidents. People ran into each other. There was varying speeds. There was people trying to pass, going for holes that weren't there, stuff like that. So there was a lot of chaos tonight based on the way guys were racing. And maybe that was started by the tires and knowing, hey, I've got speed here, I'm going to use these, I'm going to be more conservative, whatever. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, there's 14 cautions because people's tires kept blowing every 30 laps and we couldn't race. They made it to the end, and they had to use strategy and save them. And, how many sets do you want laying for the last caution? It was all part of the strategy. That's racing. That's motorsports. That's not a gimmick. So to me, it was great and it was entertaining.
I don't disagree. And I think you saw what Ryan Blaney did, which was, as everyone else was having their issues in stage one, he's backing it down and conserving himself. And they went on a longer strategy. And it showed that if you manage this, you can, if you effectively manage this, you can go longer than you need to. And I think it did show a skill level. It wasn't luck or coincidence that the two guys who battled for the win in stage one also were battling for the win in stage two. They did a really, really good job of that. Taking it even further, you go back to that spring 2024 race here. Ty Gibbs led a great number of laps that day. Guess who led a great number of laps tonight? It's Ty Gibbs. That's not a coincidence. That's a credit to Ty Gibbs as a driver of figuring this out and learning how to manage his equipment. I will say this in fairness, there were some people that I did talk to. They didn't want to go on the record, but there were some people that did not like this, and they thought it was a little too extreme, and that there was a little bit of luck involved in this. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that's what they said, and that they felt this was a little too gimmicky for here and what this is. But they did say if between this and what it was here in the spring, they're leaning in this direction, it just needs to be pulled back a little bit.
See, I don't think that I'm necessarily even the majority opinion. I think it's fairly split. And certainly in the garage, it's probably split because, and like for the Larson example, right? I understand completely why Larson and the 5 team and anybody else that's a good, fast team here would not like this kind of racing, because these people work their butts off to bring the fastest car possible, to be able to go hammer down, to be able to lead 873 laps over the last 2 races like Kyle Larson did here, because they were damn good. And they got the track position and they earned it. And yes, it's hard to pass in this car, but they kicked everybody's butt. This opens the door to a wild strategy, various circumstances, getting caught by a caution at the wrong time, having to save yourself, not being able to, you can't make your car go as fast as possible. It doesn't matter how fast your car is in some ways, because it's more about saving and conserving and playing the strategy and all that. It's the whole package. And so if you are a team that you're like, we're the best, we come in and we want to dominate, and we worked hard to bring the best stuff, of course you're going to be like, this sucks, right? Because why would that's not what you're here to do. But objectively, taking a step back from that, having no dog in the fight, I'm watching this and I'm like, man, this is pretty awesome, right? Because we've constantly complained about this car and how, you just can't pass and dirty air. This is the closest it comes to putting it back in the driver's hands, to making it up to them whether they want to go take a chance. Hocevar, right? At one point, like he goes up there and it's a risk. And then once he gets into second, he manages his stuff and he's able to make it last. But it was like, okay, where do you want to do here? Where do you want to try to go hard? Do you want to try to save? It opens up a whole thing. So to me, that's interesting.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. And I will say this, Joey Logano liked it a lot. He was a big fan of this and said, this rewards smart drivers. You have to be smart. And it really rewards the teams that can adapt on the fly. I think if teams knew this coming in, what this was going to be, I think their sentiment, I think that is where I think maybe some of the frustration, if there's frustration, and there's some, if there's a frustration with this, it's the unpredictability of, we go from Friday to how we described it, where there's almost, very little fall off, to what we saw tonight. And go back to the spring of this race on the Saturday and even into Sunday morning, everybody was predicting massive tire wear. This is going to be a repeat of what happened a year ago. And then the race starts and everybody's like, oh no, this is not it at all. And there's a frustration of the teams of, can we at least have a sense of what this is going to be going into the race, where, it isn't, we don't have to run 20 laps. It doesn't even matter. It's not even about practice. It's about track conditions and everything else. And apparently I asked this question to everybody, and Goodyear said this as well. Track temperature is apparently what this is all about. So all I can deduce from this, Jeff, is this is great for the September Bristol race, because we ran at night and it's cool conditions. Apparently the spring race needs to be ran in January if we want that to be any good, because that's the only hope we have for that thing.
Well, to me, okay, so you're looking at this and it looked like a lot like the spring race, right? Except this tire, the right side tire, was different. So backing up for just a second to recap, if for those who didn't know all the nitty gritty here, Goodyear was doing what everybody asked. They wanted a even softer tire because nobody had been able to replicate what we saw in the spring, and nobody even really knew how it was. In fact, even leading into, this week talking to people, there was still theories about there like, well, it might actually be more like the resin in the PJ1 application, as much as the temperature and stuff like that. Like there was a lot of people, remember, sort of dismissed that it was just the temperature. Mm-hmm. I think now after tonight, it's clear. Yeah.
Nobody knew that. And that was part of the frustration then, right? Like everybody's like, well, why can't we figure this out of what it was and then replicate it? And it does seem now that track temperature is going to be that big of a thing. And I don't mean to keep saying this, but I asked this question because I don't know. And it's like, does track temperature really have that much impact on this tire wear? And the answer for most crew chiefs I talked to is yes. Yes.
Well, but yeah. So I think what happened though is like with the older tire. So Goodyear ended up bringing this tire that was a little bit more aggressive. They didn't have time to actually test it because of the baseball game at Bristol, right? So this was the first time this weekend that this had ever been on the track. and for the right side tire, right? And so the previous tire, if it had been this temperature, like it was last year or whatever, I don't think it would have done this, right? It wouldn't. But this newer tire was more sensitive to a warmer temperature, right? Like it didn't have to be 50 degrees. Well, it was probably what, in the 70s tonight or something like that.
It got cooler than that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, at the start of the race, when this started happening, it was in the low 70s, high 60s. Anyway, my point is, this newer tire that they brought was more sensitive to even a higher temperature. So that just shows you they're getting more that was where the more aggressive part came in. And so could you have guessed that? Again, probably not. But I will say, you're saying teams felt it was unfair. They wish they would have known this.
Some did.
But like, again, I go back to the Chase Elliott quote from last week. He said, you would have to put your card so far on the side of tire conservation that you would be giving up so much if the race probably went like it will go, which is what the majority of the events have been there. If we fall into the situation we fell into the spring race a couple years ago, it just means you'll have to adjust on the fly. I totally get why any playoff team, any contending team would have been like, all right, but why didn't we see there's 39 cars in this race? Not one team was willing to be like, let's show up there and just guess that it's going to be a high wear race, because they would have been set up to go much longer than everybody else, to have more sets at the end, to go harder at the end, right? In theory, if this is possible for team, because what you're saying is, hey, if they'd known this, they can fix this, they can go longer. Nobody did it. So they could have, but they didn't want to.
Well, here's the answer to that question is literally Adam Stevens, a 2-time Cup Series winning crew chief who won this race tonight, literally said he would have bet his house.
I get that.
And so, like, if he says that, like, that gives you an indication of kind of the degree to where everybody's thinking. And to go to say, hey, we're going to take a gamble on the other side, that is a huge swing. And if you're wrong, man, you're in for a long night.
I get that, but you're telling me that like Cole Custer or the 66 car or Ty Dillon's team or Cody Ware or whoever, like, yeah, they would have been risking a disastrous night perhaps, right? Or like, but you also, the upside would have been amazing potentially, right? Am I wrong here?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess the other thing is, like, if you're wrong, what does that mean then? Like, you're pitting every 20 laps?
No, you'd be so slow, right? You'd be
but I mean,
you're not. You'd be not wearing the tires, but you'd be super slow. So if you were trying not to wear your tire, I don't know. But
I don't know.
I'm not a crew chief. I just think
it doesn't seem. I just feel like there's a reason why that nobody on that end would make a swing at it, but who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, I do think it's fascinating in the sense that, like, this was what I think a lot of people were asking for and a lot of people wanted, and what Goodyear was tasked to do. And yet you still had people being like, I don't like this for whatever reason. It was baffling to me. Like, what are people looking for if this was not what? I'm honestly asking. I don't know.
But it's the eternal question. NASCAR fans are never satisfied, and they're never going to be happy. And you can give them but what do they want? They want something that they can't really quantify. And if you give that to them, they're still not going to probably be happy. And
did they want a race? By the way, the spring race at Bristol on the Good Race poll is the lowest rated race of this year, 20.1%. Did they want another race like that where you're hammered down, you can't pass? There was only 4 lead changes the entire race in the spring. They wanted a race like that just so they could complain about the new car the entire night and be like, this sucks. Why can't we have tires that wear? Why does this car?
Yeah.
You wanted you to spend your time doing that instead or something? You had 36 lead changes, 14 cautions.
Have you met NASCAR Twitter before? Have you been on NASCAR Twitter before? Do you understand what it's like?
it's like I just don't get the determination to like hate whatever's happening is just like, no, I hate this. I wish I had this. And then you get it. You finally get it. You're like, well, instead of like, yeah.
I feel like there is a segment of people who watch this sport and you could literally give them everything they want and they ask for, and they still would find a reason to be unhappy. I genuinely believe that.
You saw the same thing on social, right? I mean,
I had some people like sending me somebody was at like some late model race or something like this is the best short track racing. It's like I've seen Cars Tours races where literally guys will fall lap down, saving their tires, wait for everyone else to burn them off, and then they go because they saved their tires and they win. Like, this is short track racing. And Letarte talked about it. Letarte and Jeff Burton talked about it tonight on the broadcast. They did a great job, by the way, of covering this race tonight. And just really being on top of everything. But they talked about it too, of how this is a thing in racing now on the short track grassroots level. This is what you want. And we sit here and talk about the short track package and short tracks and how the racing is bad. Like, this was good. You had action, you had passing, you had unpredictability. You had how many different guys that we think at various points were going to win this race, whether it was Brad or Christopher or Ty Gibbs or Bowman and Blaney. Like, you had all of this in the mix. You had a lot of different stories. Like, this was what you want to see at Bristol on a consistent basis. Take this and copy it and put it at Richmond and Martinsville and every other short track you run at, because this is what makes for good racing on short tracks.
So since the Atlanta race, second Atlanta race, which got 90.5% on the poll, there's only been 2 races that even got above 63%. One of them was a big surprise, Richmond, 83.1%, and then Daytona got 88.2. Other than that, it's been a just sort of meh run here. But we now have 2 straight short track races, which if you would have predicted what, beforehand, what the poll was going to be or whatever, what people were going to say, it would have been like, this is going to be oof, people are not going to love this. So now we're, because this, we can guess, but I think this is going to be above 80%, I would think. So you're going to have 2 short track races in a row that are ended up pretty good or pretty well, I think. So, maybe not all hope is lost. I don't know. But
what was the number for the Bristol Spring Race in 2024?
Yes, that was 87.3.
Okay.
Do you want to guess? Now, since we're already on this?
Yeah, we might. I figured we were going to. So, okay. Yeah, I don't have my notebook with me, so I'm just going to shout it out.
Okay.
So hell with it. I'm going to go. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. That's going to be too low.
By the way, you are up. You're up 2 now, and Big Joe Wall points out that this is your, I think, 4th 3-race winning streak of the year. You have never gone 4 in a row though. This year, yeah, this is your 4th 3-race winning streak of the season. But you haven't gotten to 4, so you're up 2. Going up 3 here would be pretty big if you were able to do a first round sweep like.
And then, by the way, if I do win this, I'm all in favor of you having to swim across Lake Lloyd.
Oh yeah, now you are.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I will find an alligator and put it in there.
Okay. Anyway, how much time do you want to kill on the podcast?
I know. I'm sorry. 89.
89. Okay, I have 85.1 here.
So,
I think it's going to be somewhere in between there, but I think it's actually going to be lower than the 87.3% race, just in the sense that like some people, I don't know, just I saw enough chatter where people seem to be unhappy for some reason. So I just don't. I don't know.
Start Twitter. They're always unhappy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
85.1 for me, 89.
89 for me. I thought, I feel good. It's good. That's good.
Look, okay, if you're going to bring this, I think in the spring, if they brought the same tire back, it would be a lot riskier in a way.
You don't,
because if you, you know what? It's almost like they should bring, I don't know how much Goodyear has the capacity to do this. They should bring the old tire and this tire, and depending on the temperature, like be like, all right, is it safe enough? Because if they brought this one, it was wearing enough in 67, 70 degree temperatures, whatever, right? And it's going to be, let's say it's in the 50s, that it could be really high wear. Even if teams are ready for it, it could be really, I don't know, maybe you should let them go. I mean, because look, if you go slow, you're not going to blow your tires out. So maybe you should still just let them adapt. But thank you to Goodyear for putting the work in here, because, well, no, but it's just that everybody's put the pressure on them to have to save it, to have to save the sport on short tracks. And, the car's not changing. It's just the tires that have been changing, and it's making a difference. So phew, it's nice to not have to, because the whole podcast, if this had been like last year's Bristol race or this spring's Bristol race, whatever, the whole podcast would have been, this car sucks, short tracks, blah, 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 again, can't pass, blah, 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 blah. It's just a relief to go, just take a break from it. Hey, it could be New Hampshire next week that we say that again, but for this week, no. So
that was good. But though, the other side of that, though, is if this would have been a bad race, do you remember what you did in the spring on our show? Like, you had a full-on rant about how this car sucks and just you were done with it and they needed to get new one. Like, so the only downside of this race being as good as it was is we missed out on a Gluck rant, which
I feel like I ranted at the top of the show. That was
not a rant. You can't rant and praise. Like, I don't,
You can't rant positively?
No, ranting is like angry and upset, Like,
what about going off about something positively that I like?
No,
that's not a rant.
Ranting. Ranting is angry, and ranting is like rage.
Well, what's it called when you praise something? Like what's the equivalent of rant for positive then?
Excited,
positive rant. Excited is not mean. You're okay. Anyway, I think I ranted.
You did not rant.
I'm sorry that it was not received, but I ranted and it was positive. So now people will call me a shill, because anytime I'm positive for even 1 week about NASCAR, I'm a shill for NASCAR. But if I'm the opposite, I'm too negative and tearing down the sport. So whatever I say is it's just like Chase Elliott tonight.
Okay, I just looked. Sorry, really quick. I just looked, and I'm right about ranting. Like, I am 100%. And the antonym for ranting is praising, which is what you did.
Well, everybody in the chat is saying raving, so like ranting and raving.
So I guess I was just raving. That's fine. So there you go. So you're not ranting.
Okay, I guess I was raving, but that sounds like I'm at an EDM concert.
Ugh, good luck with that.
Anyway, yeah. I guess we could just talk about the race and the people that did well in it now. Since we've already talked about the tires.
Look, Christopher Bell.
Your favorite topic, the tires. So, yes, Christopher Bell and Joe Gibbs Racing specifically swept the entire round one with 3 different drivers. Yep. Led the most laps in every race, had a dominant driver in every race, although this time the driver that won for them led only the 3rd most laps for their team. Christopher Bell led only 12 laps tonight, where Ty Gibbs led 201 and Chase Briscoe led 127. Nobody else led more than 33, by the way. Toyota, all through and through, just completely dominated this round. I know you said that you weren't ready to proclaim them last week, and then Denny backed you up, saying that was too much of a although I think from his standpoint, why would you want to put a target on your back for Toyota? That's my reasoning. But
I talked to other drivers this week, and they said the same thing. Like, the group of drivers, Yeah, that they're just it's still too early.
Okay.
There's no one that's really separated themselves. Like
So Joe Gibbs Racing has not separated
but this
themselves
is
yet.
they're always good at Darlington. They're always good at Gateway. Them winning
Okay.
at Bristol is not.
So what about next week?
No,
Next
but
week, are you ready to?
Kyle Larson, William Byron said the same thing. Like, you really aren't going to have a really true sense of where things stand until the end of round 2, just because.
Come on.
Like,
one team.
So Denny Hamlin. So literally, a good number of drivers, including a Toyota driver, all say like, no, we're not really sure yet. But yet you are saying, no, you are all wrong and I'm right.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I understood.
Because if all of you, after next week at New Hampshire, if let's say they win again at New Hampshire, right?
By the way, is a Joe Gibbs Racing stronghold.
Okay, where's the championship?
Phoenix,
and
which is a Penske track.
Okay, if you have seen Joe Gibbs Racing dominate last week at Gateway, at Bristol, at New Hampshire, and then you're like, well, no, we haven't really learned anything yet about the playoffs or who's good, or you're just arguing for the sake of arguing because it's Joe Gibbs Racing.
Racing dominated at Gateway last year. They won at New Hampshire last year. They did not win the championship because they did not win at Phoenix.
Okay, so are you arguing that Hendrick is still you love what you're seeing from Hendrick right now and they're still in this and they're still gonna?
I think Kyle Larson's fine. I think Byron's fine. Like, I think the next couple of weeks we're gonna have a good tell. I think Kansas is gonna be a good barometer, and I think New Hampshire is. I think Chase Briscoe is gonna make the championship 4. I think Denny Hamlin could win this championship. I think Ryan Blaney's in a really good. Blaney's had great speed just about every single week. And I still think there is a group of 5-6 drivers that are kind of in that path. There's nobody that's clearly separated and said those our drivers are it. Like, it still feels like it's open.
Kyle Larson, before the race, in his pre-race interview, was talking about, in practice, I didn't really feel like I had that sort of dominant car that I usually have here or something like that. Now, we don't really know what his night would have been like because he got, in trouble early with the tire stuff and got caught out. Then I think he got damaged and he ends up finishing 5 laps down. And I don't think he ever got back on the lead lap after his early thing. So we don't really know. But even before then, I'm saying I don't know that Hendrick looked like themselves. Larson didn't look like the same car that completely throttled everybody here the last 2 races. So I still haven't seen enough from Hendrick to be like, okay, they're going to challenge Joe Gibbs. Penske, they have some moments, but they're kind of hanging on.
Blaney, I will give you that with Logano and Cindric, but I will not say that Blaney's hanging on. Blaney has been very, very good, and he deserves more respect than that. And again, especially when you look at Martinsville and Phoenix, where he has been so great in the fall, there is nothing you can point at Blaney and say, man, I don't think they got it this year. To me, they're running better than they were last year at this time on their way to the championship 4.
Okay. Well, anyway, Bell obviously was not. I mean, could have been a variety of people that end up winning this race. So the storyline could have been much different. It could have been Brad Keselowski had Keselowski on the very last lap, had a better punt, I guess, or a more well-timed. I mean, I thought he nailed him. It was pretty hard.
He was going.
He hit him pretty hard. And so to me, it was like, we talk about Christopher Bell being a very clean driver and wanting to win these races the right way. And, I don't think he was going to he wouldn't have roughed up somebody for a win, even if it was Bristol. Keselowski had made the decision, I'm going for it. Like, I'm going to move you. I'm going to knock you out of the way here. And he did. But Bell, amazingly enough, was able to keep the car underneath them. You asked him about it in the post-race press conference. give his explanation there because I thought that was interesting.
You go ahead. I don't have it in front of me, so.
Oh, well, basically, he said that, he knew that Brad was going to hit him. And if he recalls, because he said it happened fast, he decided to back the corner up a little bit to try to keep enough tire underneath him that when he got hit, he wasn't going to get wrecked for it. And so he, took a pretty big shot there and was able to be propelled forward. And that saved the race and won the race. So, Keslowski, I think, did what he had to do.
Yeah.
He, short of outright wrecking him for the win, he proved that he was going to get physical and win and say, hey, I want this win. Sorry.
Yeah.
It just didn't work. So Bell amazingly, and it came down to those two because it was interesting. I think it was Brad's radio. The caution comes out there and it's going to be a sprint to the finish, 4 laps to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was only 9 cars on the lead lap or something. And I think it was Brad's radio. They'd called him in, and I think it was like somebody, I think it was Brad though. They were like, "Are you sure?"
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "There's only 8 cars on the lead lap." So he was able to come in, and the top 3 stayed out. He's able to come get fresher tires. I think maybe he had scuffs. And then Bell had 2 right sides, I think, that were new. Maybe Keslowski had 2 new right sides. And there's a couple guys, I think, that had 4. But so it didn't take them very long because Hocevar and Zane Smith got to racing. Bowman was on older tires and had no choice. They had to roll the dice, or they had nothing to. They had already used their tires. So Keslowski and Bell were able to get through there. Bell said he was fortunate to be on the correct side of that restart because Keslowski picked high, so he picked low to go opposite. And then when Hocevar and Zane Smith got to be racing each other, that opened up the bottom lane for him, because they drifted up the track. So yeah. Bell was able to get by, and then Keslowski just couldn't get there in time. So, it could have worked out a lot differently, but to me, that move there, I mean, you could say, well, because Hocevar is like, hey, listen, if this runs green, we might win, which is true. But that was part of this race, right? Like, it's just the strategy at the right time, what tires you have left, taking that risk, and it all worked out for Bell somehow.
Did put yourself in the right position, and there's a couple people that said, oh, maybe he got lucky, or there was no luck. This was skill. He did a masterful job of putting himself in position and great driving.
Yeah, it was like in the post-race press conference, like, oh, there's questions about, did he steal the win? No,
there ain't no steal. He earned this, man. Like this is as earned as it gets. This was a good, and they were running up front all night, and this is a good track for him, and not surprising, and comes a week after, the rant on the radio after Gateway and some frustration there.
Yeah, which we never talked about that on the podcast. We didn't know it at the time last week, but.
And I said on DVC this week when I was out there, and I think a lot of that frustration stems from how the playoff unfolded for them a year ago. And you go back to Las Vegas, and he pits a lap sooner than he did. He will pass Joey Logano, and he wins that race and locks himself in the championship 4. But they got bid at Las Vegas. He loses there. You heard him on the radio at Las Vegas. He ends up missing the championship 4 on points. And this is a driver who knows every point matters. Every opportunity to win a race in the playoffs matters significantly. And this is a team that has let some wins get away. And I don't know if, you can question whether it's the right forum to voice that, whatever, but like, he wasn't wrong in what he said. It was the right thing. But this is, this is a credit to that team and credit to Bell and a credit to Adam Stevens, who I know he's got 2 championships. He's one of only 2 active crew chiefs with multiple championships. He probably doesn't get enough credit for how good he is, but this is a guy who, when you work with Kyle Busch, like, I think you're pretty attuned to, like, you're letting your driver rant and you just kind of like shrug it off, and they just move forward, and they did.
Yeah, I think it's, for Bell, I think it's a lot to do with your teammates, right?
There's that too. That's, yeah.
your teammates win 2 races, you're you're as fast as them, or you have a faster car even at some races, and you're like, we won 3 races in a row early in the year. We haven't won since then. What's going on? We're better than this. This is, it's building. So, he popped off. I don't think it's a big deal, honestly, but yeah, for them to come back, hey, look, 4 wins now, the most he's had in a season.
Yeah. Plus the All-Star win, by the way.
Yeah. He's looking good in playoff points, for the next round, and we will see, how that all shakes out. But if you look at the playoffs overall right now, Chase Briscoe's having the best playoffs, another top 10 for him tonight. Mm-hmm. He qualified terribly. Lowest qualifying playoff driver, but drove all the way up to the lead and led 127 laps. And so he's got 2 top 5s and a 9th in round 1. So, does he have a first, second, and a 9th? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Is that correct? So, I think pretty good start for them. But I did see that, on the other end of this, Jordan, the guys that ended up getting eliminated were guys that just had, except for, Bowman tonight tried his best to salvage something. But yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen the bottom 4 just collectively have a completely miserable round. And it wasn't even close. There was 0. Josh Berry probably had the worst round 1 anybody's ever had, honestly.
Yeah. He literally didn't look at this. He finished 38th, 36th, 39th. He had 2 crashes and a mechanical failure that caused his car to catch on fire. That was his round 1. Like, that might be the worst performance in round 1 in the history of this format. Like that.
No, it is, because Brock Beard, last car on Brock, he had a tweet earlier. I'm trying to scroll through and find it. Sorry. Basically, Josh Berry, those finishes you listed were 3 last place finishes in a row. And he is the first driver to finish last 3 times in a row. I can't find it now, but in a while.
Long time.
So
probably since the starting park days or something.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not that long ago. Ryan Preece, actually. In July 2020, finished last in 3 consecutive Cup races at Indianapolis, Kentucky, and Texas. Barry is the 5th Cup driver ever to finish last 3 races in a row. And unfortunately for him, this came in the playoffs. So I had him getting out of round 1. So that was not good for me.
You had him in advance. That's right. You were on the Barry train.
Well, because I thought that the Penske cars, I thought he would be able to run really well at Gateway and run good at Bristol. And I just thought, I thought he'd get out of round 1. I didn't have him farther than that. But so SVG also had a miserable first round.
Miserable. I had him getting out of round 1, so I can't say anything.
I had him out this round, but I think NASCAR tweeted, or they not tweeted, they in their pre-race release, they sent out that SVG becomes I don't know how to term this, but the driver with the highest cushion to the cutoff going into the playoffs to be eliminated in round 1. He was plus 16 to the cutoff heading into this round, and he's out. So that nobody had ever been that high up and missed. But it just, the ovals. Okay. Yeah.
He didn't have to be great. He just had to be okay. And they weren't even okay.
Well, to pull a Freddie to your point, I need to verify this because it's probably irresponsible for me to read this.
Probably.
And I'm not going to be able to go back if it's not true. But Jason Fellenbaum on X, I was scrolling through the NASCAR hashtag, and I asked Daniel Cespedes to double check this for me, and he doesn't have his laptop with him right now. So I will try to correct this if it's not true. But Jason Fellenbaum tweeted This year had the lowest ever total needed to get out of the first round of the playoffs. So if you look at it, Austin Cindric finished with 66 points, and that included his playoff points, right? So he, that's what, 22 points a race. If you don't count playoff points, that's very, if you had just done okay, right? Like, yeah.
If you don't have a 45-second pit stop or whatever it was, and then have another equally bad pit stop the following week, if you don't have your car catch on fire and get in wrecks, there's all these things. And the SVG thing with the 4 wins and the bonus points, man, I get it. Oval, he's a rookie, doesn't have a lot of oval experience, but that was not good.
I mean, I think if I'm looking at this correctly, I think 22 points a race is finishing 15th with no stage points. If you finished 15th 3 times with no stage points, or average of 15th, I guess, right? That would have been enough to advance. So, yeah, again, it's like, man, you've been harping on it, but that's and we talked about Dylan earlier as well, right? Like, even coming into this race, they hadn't had a great playoffs, but if they had just been able to avoid trouble and get a decent result tonight, they probably advance over Cindric on points, but wasn't able to. And then, of course, Bowman, he ends up missing by 10 points, but
and that's I don't mean to keep harping on this, but that is the difference. You easily can make up 10 points in the last 2 races because it cost them 20 spots, plus they had a speeding penalty. Let's not forget that. They caught it 20 spot. They cost themselves 20 spots at Gateway with a bad pit stop, plus a speeding penalty. And then you had the pit stop fiasco at Darlington. That's easily somewhere in there is 10 points. Easily.
Yeah. Yep. That's going to really, that's just really a bummer for Bowman because, again, he got screwed last year with the DQ. I mean, at least in terms of what he can control, right? Yeah. At the Roval, he was going to advance to the final 8. Comes back this year, has a good run up in the summer to salvage what had been a rough start. Hangs on at Daytona, as you documented there, by the skin of his teeth, and gives himself a second life, only to, get humiliated and, at least with the team, in a terrible way in this round. Have a pit crew change in the first round of the playoffs. That's not what you want, obviously. So it's just a bummer. But
go ahead. It's just kind of how it's symbolic of how the 48 team has been these last few years, of moments of brilliance and then moments of what is going on here.
So I had Bubba Wallace out in round 1. I was very wrong about that. He had a good round 1. I had Chastain out in round 1. So he survives. He ended up making it by a pretty decent amount. Let's see.
It wasn't
24 points. Yeah, Chastain made it by 24 points, I think.
He didn't have a great outside of Darlington. He wasn't great this round.
Yeah.
But he
did enough. He did enough.
That's it. Yeah.
And then I had SVG and I had Dylan out in this round. So I was 2 correct. But now looking forward, Jordan, if you had to redo it, looking at who's next for this round and who's left, I think we both are we both going to say that Chastain misses this. So, I mean, well, first let's talk about the races. So we've got New Hampshire, Kansas, and the Roval. So, I just don't love how Chastain's running right now. I still have a lot of questions about Hendrick and, Elliott. I don't know. I just, doesn't seem like they have a lot of momentum lately. So I guess I'd probably have him out this next round. He obviously doesn't have a lot of playoff points to go with it.
They're not qualifying well at all. I mean, there are three races in the playoffs, starting positions of 21st, 19th, and 16th. That's been indicative of what they have done all season. And I keep saying this: you don't qualify well, it's hard to pass in some of these places. You don't put yourself in position to get stage points. It's an uphill battle, and that's going to bite you at some point. I agree with you on Elliott.
Yeah. So we're on the same two there.
Yep.
I don't know. See, I personally, I'm not gonna. I know you're gonna say Cindric would be out this next round.
I do have Cindric going out.
So I've in my playoff predictions, I have him going to the final 8, and I'm sticking with it because think about these tracks again. I think New Hampshire should be a good track for Penske, and that's why I have Logano still moving on as well. I know you might have Logano out. You had Logano out. Did you have Logano out this round?
No, I did not have Logano out this round.
Oh, I thought you did for a second. All right. So are you picking Logano out or?
I have Cindric out for sure.
Okay.
Last 12 races, he's only got 2 top 10s. Yeah, he has 1 top 5 finish. I don't see it happening for him. I don't know who to take for my 4th. I don't know.
How do you feel about Reddick? Yeah,
but they're. I mean, I know tonight kind of bit them a little bit because they got caught and everything, so it's hard to pull away. But he was good at Darlington. It seemed like they had some speed at Gateway, and I feel like we're due for somebody kind of just shockingly, kind of falling out. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go William Byron.
Whoa! So even though all those playoff points, I think those can go away pretty fast.
What is he? 32.
He's already entering plus 24 on the cut line.
Yeah, 1 bad race. I'm gonna go William. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and I think Bubba's running really, really well. New Hampshire's a good track for them. Kansas is a really good track for them. It's not as great as they used to be. I think it'll be okay. Right. And he's a really good road course racer now. And actually, the Robles is one of his better tracks. So I like Bubba a lot. I love Briscoe. I like Blaney, Bell, Larson for sure, Hamlin for sure. So just kind of process of elimination, I'm just going to go Byron, and I really don't have any rhyme or reason. I'm looking at the results. Let's see really quick here. Last 5 races, 12th, 19th, 21st, 11th, 12th, have led 5 laps in the last 6 races. So, I mean, if you believe in momentum and stuff like that, I don't know. I really don't have a strong case.
I think I'm going to go Reddick to miss.
Fair.
And I don't know. I'm kind of almost tempted on Bubba, even though he had some good races there, and the Roval has been good, but I really haven't seen much out of 2311 at Kansas. We kept thinking of them for a while after they won those races, like they're so strong, and like they haven't been that fast. And I seem to recall when we were there in the spring again, going like, man, what's up with those cars? They just haven't been themselves. So,
let's see.
Yeah, I might have both 2311 cars out and Chastain and Elliott.
Wow, both 2311 cars. Dang.
I don't know. Despite saying that Toyota.
I wasn't going to say anything. Reddick finished 17th, didn't lead a lap. Bubba finished 33rd, didn't lead a lap, and he had a crash. So, yeah. We'll see. The more I think about this, I probably, if I can take my Byron pick back, I'd probably go Logano, Cindric, Chastain, and
I thought you'd be going Logano.
Yeah, I think I'm subbing out Logano putting Logano out and Byron stays.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's Bubba done historically at at Loudon. Okay, so he crashed last year.
Mhm.
Before that, though, he finished 8th and 3rd. So I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
Not too bleak, but
Team's running
I
well.
don't know.
They were good at Gateway.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, you're right about the Roval for him. So, but since I had him out in round 1, I'm not going to like mess with my picks too much and to be too inconsistent. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Man, this was a great night though for some non-playoff drivers. I mean, Keslowski had a chance to win the race. I thought Zane Smith was super impressive. He was up in the top 10 all night.
Mm-hmm.
And how about Corey Heim?
Great. He's a Sunday driver, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's had some sort of struggles in his Cup starts, and of course, he missed the Chicago race, right?
Yes.
So, for him to come out and finish 6th in a playoff elimination race, big race, that's pretty significant. Hocevar was going to have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's exciting to watch still, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He is. I was thinking for a minute there, man. I wonder if he wins Bristol night race. I wonder what the reaction will be, or that could really launch him into stardom. And of course, Ty Gibbs, who dominated the race, had a career night, most laps he's ever led. And so did he miss pit road, or did he have a tire blow right when he was trying to get to pit road? Either way, that screwed him up.
I think he missed pit road and then flat spotted because the tires were already so worn, he flat spotted them, and then that caused it to go flat.
Okay.
That is I believe that is the case and how this transpired.
Wow.
Because listening to his radio at the time, he was pitting and then it was not pitting, and then it was like, oh, I got a flat tire. So, yeah.
So, Jordan, this race had 137 laps of caution. And if that sounds like it's a lot, it's because it is not only a lot, it is the all-time record for any Cup Series race in the modern era, which is, according to NASCAR Insights, that is 1,771 races. I mean, I thought that they were padding the cautions to help the teams get closer on tires. I thought, well, they must be just extending them. So I asked about that, and, take it for what it's worth, but I got back a answer that was absolutely not. And in fact, NASCAR in the scoring tower was wanting to see more green flag racing, was getting frustrated at the amount of caution laps, was what I was told. So apparently they weren't. I mean, again, take it. I know a lot of people be like, "That's not." Oh yeah, you're gonna believe that, Jeff?
Are you a homer, Jeff? Are you in the NASCAR payroll?
It's
you be careful. Mark Martin's going to tweet about you and accuse you of being on the NASCAR payroll and everything.
I don't think he said you were on the NASCAR payroll. He just said, "Why are you trying to go on DBC and sell this?"
I didn't say anything about me. I was just saying in general.
Well, you're referring to him throwing somebody under the bus on X, which is what happened to you this week. How were your mentions after that, Jordan?
I don't pay any attention. Could care less.
Really? You could care less?
Could care less, man.
You don't pay attention to your mentions.
I could care less what people say. I trust me. The things I see, I'm good, man. Whatever. I don't live in that world.
All right. Well, anyway, did you think that they were padding the cautions, or what was the?
I mean, it felt like a lot of caution laps, but there's also a lot of debris and everything on the racetrack, and I don't know. I would have loved to see more green flag racing at the end. I think what we saw it was almost like a tease, because the race started off of like, oh my goodness, these guys are having to conserve their tires and all, making green flag pit stops, and then as the race moved along, because there kept being so many cautions, we didn't quite get into that same rhythm again. And to see how this was going to play out, it was like every time you felt like, okay, we're going to get kind of going here a little bit. Oh, no, caution. And then it would be caution. And it was just like, it was frustrating in that aspect, because you wanted to see this play out more and how it compared to how it began. So Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. And it wasn't. It wasn't a lot of crash. It wasn't like a lot of hard crashes where you had a lot of debris and stuff. So I just don't, was the number last because there's just so much, tire rubber and everything out there, and you got to blow the track. That's going to get me on a website, by the way.
Yeah, well, there's been several things tonight, Jordan, that could make NASCAR, and I think that you will be on several of them. I just haven't said anything. Anyway, I think I'm looking at the longest runs of the night. So until the first caution, despite all the chaos in that first stage, was 80 laps, an 80-lap run. And then there was another one that was 75-ish or something, 80-something-ish. But then like you said, that was a tease because then it started getting, the second half was so choppy with all the cautions. So, you didn't really get that to find out what would have happened more on the tire stuff. But I enjoyed it anyway. So, Jordan, what else is on your list of notes to talk about? I feel like we're forgetting stuff, but
yeah, probably are. Denny Hamlin coming out with the Law and Order theme, chef's kiss.
You liked that?
That was perfect. That's a nice.
There was another lawsuit filing, by the way.
Always lawsuit filings.
Well, I know there's always, but I didn't expect.
I feel like if we were doing our job, we'd have like a little sound effect of like a little court dum dum or like a gavel.
Don't. Yeah.
Like banging.
So the teams are asking for a summary judgment to dismiss the counterclaim against them. But as part of that, they shared some more evidence, including more about those gold codes. NASCAR's whole plan was laid out into terms of the backup contingency plan of what happened if there's going to be boycotts, or even if the teams tried to go start their own thing, and what it was going to cost and how they were going to do it. Pretty wild stuff out there. So if you haven't seen that on X, several reporters, Matt Weaver, Bob, I think, tweeted all the materials, but pretty crazy stuff. So the stuff keeps turning there. By the way, you think Hamlin will lose a crew member for suspension? Because some people are like, oh, that broke, that was contact. But I thought the wheel came off because
it was weird because usually when you see something like this, it's pretty clear cut, and it's like, this is why, and it's usually right at this where there was, there's contact, and it was like this, but the way they officiated it and held him for 2 laps would seem to indicate that NASCAR is confident that this was a mistake. Is that, or I don't know how you want to term it, but like,
wasn't he like 20? Did somebody say he's like 20 laps into a run though?
I don't. But then he was, and then right before it broke, he had contact. So it was like bang bang play. It was one of those bang bang plays. But if NASCAR in the race is going to call you for 2-lap penalty, that would seem to kind of tip their hand that they thought that this was already just cover your butt of saying, hey, this guy's already clinched and he's on to the next round. Like, he wasn't going to be a factor in this race. I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting because usually, like I said, in these instances, almost always it's right after a pit stop. And it's very clear, like this came off, there was no contact or anything like that. This was a very unique set of circumstances.
Yeah.
So, and
where do you land on who was at fault in the Chase Elliott deal? John Hunter, Denny, Chase Elliott.
At fault. It's just a racing thing in a short track where you got guys on different speeds, different agendas, a chaotic race.
Well, somebody's got to be at fault for that.
No, it's called a racing
somebody's
deal.
Fault.
It's a racing deal. No, it's not.
It was either Elliott. Either Elliott tried to come down and fill the hole that was closing too quickly, and he got punted for it basically. He got run over for it because John Hunter wasn't going to be able to slam on his brakes in time, or John Hunter was too aggressive getting in the corner and just drove right into him and knocked him up the track. I think John Hunter hit Elliott before Denny hit John Hunter. So I don't think that Denny is part of that one. I thought, you could say Elliott didn't have a lot of speed there, but I don't know. John Hunter, it could have been a case of, making an aggressive move into the corner or something at the same moment Elliott was coming down. But I thought that was more on John Hunter, but I see that people disagreed, including, I think, TV. So I don't know. Let's hear what people say on the podcast.
If people are disagreeing, it's a racing deal. So that was everything on my list in terms of the race. Other stuff. Do you want to talk about maybe the possible changes to the stages for Talladega?
That we heard on.
And we didn't talk about it in the last episode either.
No,
the possible change.
That wasn't. No, are you talking about on Holler Talk how they said there could be 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't. They said that Mike Ford said that, but it was like, oh yeah, this has been something that he didn't make it sound like it was imminent or they're going to do it.
Yeah. So
I think that kind of got blown out of. I don't know. I don't think that they're not going to have 4 stages for. And if they did, I think that would be. I said it on X. It would be stupid. Chris Gabehart disagreed. I would like to hear why he disagreed, because I don't think that it's good to have the Talladega spring race or the Talladega playoff race.
The Talladega playoff race all of a sudden takes on so much added importance. If hypothetically this were to happen and the playoff format were to change, especially and Talladega would be likely be one of those races in that stretch, because man, that's the race. That's the points there, because everything.
Yeah, why should that be worth more points than
the
other than Homestead or whatever is going to be in there? I just don't agree with that. I don't think that.
I don't think
any need to be adding stages to super speed races.
I hate that the 600 has got 4 stages. I think that's stupid. It drives me crazy, because that literally is the most important race during the regular season in terms of points.
Yeah,
I hate it. Yeah, so,
I'm not. Well, speaking of final rounds, thanks for saving your big news of what the playoff format could be for Door Bumper Clear. Yes. Even though it's a Dirty Mo podcast, we could have our dear listeners here want to tune in and stay up late at night. It's what is it, almost 2 a.m. Eastern right now, to hear your Bianchi bombs and all sorts of news nuggets. And then you turn on us, Jordan, and you go to DBC and you'd say that there's going to be a potential 4-race final round. How dare you? How dare you?
I'm a team player, man. I just like to give the love around. That's all. I'm a share. I'm a Dirty Mo guy.
Yeah.
Spread the love.
Is that why you're afraid of commitment even on this podcast?
Touche.
Okay.
Touche. Well, you're on the playoff committee. You tell me, Jeff. What do you know?
You know more than I do. You know more than I do. I listen to DBC and I'm like,
yeah, you're just
great.
Yeah, you're just a sounding board. The committee's just a sounding board, man. You got to go talk to the people who are making decisions. That's how these things,
Yeah, well, you have apparently. So no, I don't know anything. I know that there's a formats that are being finalized, and we have a meeting this Wednesday. So we're going to hear more about it, but I guess we're probably going to hear what you already know, or at least
listen,
part of the conversation.
I think I tried to choose my words very carefully when I say this, but I'm not saying that the 3-3-4 is going to be the format. It is fair to say it is one of the formats under consideration. To what degree depends on who you talk to. But I've been told by some people that that's kind of the direction. But there's other formats, and this is still being evaluated. And you've got a I don't know what a few number of formats that they've kind of zoned in on, and now you guys, as part of the committee, you're going to be dissecting them and talking about them and what do you like and what don't you like. And so, I think it's fair to say there is probably likely going to be a change next year. And I think whatever format is settled upon, I don't think the championship is going to be just one race. I think, whether that's 3 races or 4 races or 5 or 7, it's going to be a multi-race finish to the championship. Does that make sense?
Well, they're boxed in a certain way for what they do because you can't really do 3 because the schedule's already come out. Talladega is the third to last race. So you're not going to have, I don't think you're going to have a 3-race final round with Talladega in it. If you
I
do
never thought
4,
Talladega would be in the semifinal round. Here we are, though. So
yeah, well, if you do 4, it's a little bit more palatable, probably, right? Because the championship round, so to speak, would be Phoenix, everybody's favorite, Talladega, Martinsville, and Homestead.
It's quite the only thing you're missing there is a 1.5-mile racetrack.
Homestead.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, my fault.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
you have a short track, a 1-mile track, a super speedway, and an intermediate. No road course.
That's a blend. That's a great blend.
If you expanded it to a 5-race final round, right now that's been announced as the Roval. I say right now because maybe it could magically change the oval. I'm dreaming.
How great would that be? Like hypothetically, you have 5 race. That would start on the oval at Charlotte,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, imagine, Charlotte Oval as a playoff opener
in the championship, and the atmosphere for that
race, right? Championship round opener,
championship round opener in Charlotte, where all of the teams are everybody always brings out a lot of sponsors, and the teams always bring out all the people at the shop. The atmosphere for that first race would be absolutely electric. Electric. It would be incredible. And then you go to Phoenix, Talladega would be great. Martinsville, Homestead. Yeah. Give me the 5 and 5, man. I love the 5 and 5.
Well, I was asked as part of being on the committee to not use my platform to stump for my preferred format. So I will not do that here right now out of respect for the process, but I'm anxious to hear what the proposed formats are this week. And I'm happy that there is going to be change. Seemingly, it seems like they're moving that direction because, earlier this summer, last time we talked about this on the podcast after Brickyard 400, it seemed like because the schedule was coming out and they still needed to talk to NBC and all that, it was going to be too late to make any changes for next year. And now seems like they really feel like there's an urgency to change it. So I think the 1-race thing for me, I've been pretty clear. That's why I'm on the committee, because I don't like this and they wanted people on it.
See, your negativity got you somewhere. You're ranting and raving.
You're right.
Got you somewhere, and it got you put on it. You actually may have more homework now because of it.
If you whine loud enough, sometimes it works, I guess. I don't know. But Mark Martin is still hoping that he will be. Why don't groan at that? I think there's a lot of if I could start the whole process over and be stumping, I would have loved to be more about that. I think the 36 race thing has way more positives than you do. But
I guess my 2 things. My groaning is I'm just tired of hearing about it, to be honest with you. I'm just tired of this is how it used to be. I don't know. It's just this is how it used to be. It's a lot of, this is how it was back in the day. Things are so much better back in the day. And it's I don't know if that's the case. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't know if that is. Let me do, because I'm not stumping for one thing. I'd like to just ask you a question. If they went to the 36 race thing, which I don't think they're going to do that, by the way. I don't think they will either. I don't know. It's not going to happen. But let's say they did. By the way, I do think it'll happen someday. Someday they're going to go. Someday in our lifetime, they're going to go back to the 36 race thing and say we're going back to the roots and blah blah blah. I want to happen. What? I want them to go to a 36 race season long points format, and I want the damn thing to be locked up by Labor Day, and then that's what I want. I just for a thought exercise, I would like to hear what do you think in this era with the next gen car, with as competitive as things are, how do you think a 36 race championship season would play out in this era? What's your interpretation of it? The whole parity thing is a little bit of a misnomer. And because you look at the teams who win the most of the races now, it's the same teams. It's not, and you can still have teams that will top 10 other teams to death and everything else. They will find a way to game the system and get points and be happy finishing 10th every week because they got a bunch of stage points. I don't think you're going to have the compelling championship that you want at that time of year. I don't think year in and year out you are going to consistently get a title race that is going to turn people in. But I did want to say this, though. I had a conversation with somebody this weekend, and I can't say who, but this person is on the committee, and they are very much a proponent of the season-long championship. And after that conversation I had with this person, I did come away from it thinking I'm more open to it than I have been, even though I'm still not 100% there yet. And the argument is it rewards. They made a lot of the points that have been made of like, hey, it really does put an emphasis on this. And this is the one thing they really said to me that really jumped out is, you know how we talk about how in the playoffs, every race matters, right? If you go to the 36 race thing and you could maybe even add maybe some more points for winning or running really well every week, every race would be that way. You'd have 36 races that way. And I was like, okay. I mean, I'm listening to that. And then we, it kind of dived into television ratings and the state of the sport and the health of the sport. And I said to this person, do you think switching to a season-long points format would be a better move for NASCAR in the long term in terms of building up your audience again in ratings? And they said yes. They said it would not be a thing you're going to see overnight. It's a long-term commitment. But in the long run, they believe that it would pay dividends. And so, I don't know. I personally am pro playoff. We all know that. But I am a little bit more open to it than I have been. But I just still like the idea of the playoffs. I like the idea that you're going to have a championship that is entertaining and captivating, and it's not going to be decided weeks in advance. And there is an undeniable, this is undeniable. When you talk to people in this sport who are in the playoffs, there is a level of intensity that is ratcheted up, and that is unlike what you would see at points during the regular season. And I like that.
Yeah, I just think that someday everything goes in cycles in the sport.
Sure.
Just like when they took the Southern 500 date away from Darlington and moved it to Fontana.
Sure. North Wilkesboro.
And then you're right. Yeah, right. It all comes back around, and it's like, hey, this is what we listen to the fans. This is what they wanted. It just, they try something, and ultimately things that worked before, like if it's still possible to do them, and Fontana's like, not torn down, they could, and North Wilkesboro by the skin of its teeth, not decrepit and torn down. They can go back there. They can go back to Darlington and take the Southern 500 Labor Day back there, and it's like, oh, this is great. This is what we wanted. We'll never move this again. I think that someday, I think this time a win is going to be, for people like me, a win is probably going to be just not having the one race thing anymore and having the championship be more legitimate. And if they do that, I think a lot of people go, all right, maybe this isn't what we ultimately wanted, but you know what? We'll take it. We will, this is a step in the right direction. And, this is what it'll be for a few years. And then everybody will, again, I don't know. Maybe the format will be so amazing that I'll be wrong, but I just think someday, hopefully we're still alive to see it. They go back to the 36 racing. So I think it would be very interesting to see how it plays out in this era with spec cars and nobody, being able to really run away with something. So anyway, that's just, we'll see how it all goes.
People, the whole parity thing, and like we have teams that dominate. We have teams that assert themselves. Like that's not. It's not this complete blanket that you can put everybody under. Like it's not the case. You still have the best teams, Hendrick and Gibbs and Penske, more often than not.
You yourself started this by saying there's no standout, there's no favorites right now, and so it's the same in the season long points, right?
But you're still going to have years, like more often than not, though. So like we're changing this up to do what? To create something that's already created. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And people have this thing in their heads about the season long championship of like, oh man, it was so great. They bring up 1992 over and over again. And that's great. But that was an outlier. That wasn't the case most years. Most years, it was literally guys going into Atlanta saying, I just need to run 15th to win the championship. I don't want to see that.
Who scored the most points this year overall?
I'd have to look.
Well,
I mean, is it Byron?
Right, Byron.
Well, I didn't know the playoffs and everything. So as you're deducing here, he hasn't run as well lately, right? So that is now closed up. So now to where Ryan Blaney, who you noted as coming on strong and not having as many DNFs, has scored now the second most points. Okay, but it's like that. But I'm looking at this right now, and and Bella's got more wins than Byron, and he's got a better average finishing position than Byron, and he's also he's not. So because Byron runs like more consistently, to me, like I look at Bell, he's got more wins, he's got a better average finishing position. That's better almost than just.
Right. But I think that one thing that is being talked about a lot is giving more points for wins, winning more points wise. You know what I'm saying? So
Bell's got more top 10s. He's got more top 5s. He's got more wins, more top 5s, more top 10s, and a better average finishing position than William Byron. And yet let's reward Byron as the champion because okay, great.
But Bell's right in the mix of this championship that we're talking about.
I don't know that. We cannot. Please don't do the. We don't know what the points would be like because we do the crew chiefs change their strategies, and the whole thing would change differently as they're chasing points and not wins.
They were chasing points the entire regular season, which was just 3 races ago. 3 races ago.
No, we have literally heard crew chiefs say, once we get wins, once we do things differently. They do not chase points. They have different agendas throughout the regular season. So you can't sit there and say, "Oh, this is what the standings are going to be like."
They weren't trying to get as high up as they could in the regular season standings to win the regular season
championship and get playoff points. You know this. Stop. You literally know some crew chiefs are willing to sacrifice points for wins because they want the bonus points that go with the wins that go with it. Instead of saying, "Hey, if it means we screw ourselves and we finish 15th, so be it." But hey, you know what? Now, if you go back to the old consistency thing, it's like, no, we're not going to go for wins. We just want to finish in the top 10.
All right. You're talking about maybe 10, 20 points here and there. You're not talking about hundreds of points anyway, which it would be close. So anyway,
literally crew chiefs will sit there and tell you this, and you know this. They sit there and tell you they will change their strategy. Think of road courses. Crew chiefs literally have to make a decision on road courses. Do we chase a win or do we chase points? Because you can't do both on a lot of these road courses because you got to flip. So that is a decision you have to make.
And how many points do you think that makes up?
I don't know. But the point is,
5?
I don't want to go to the system. So to sit there and say William Byron deserves the championship this year, no, he doesn't. I'm looking at the numbers, and frankly, Bell right now probably deserves as much as anybody.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. You would give more points for wins, and Bell would then probably be leading.
But there is no guarantee that you're going to get a great championship battle every single year.
You don't need that. You need a legitimate one.
But you can have a legitimate one by doing what a legitimate one. You could do 10 race playoff. You could do a 5 race play.
Fine.
5 race.
I'm fine. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take
that's
10.
fine. If you don't want to do the 1 race thing, that's fine. But to sit there and go, we need to go back to a 36 season long points format to have a legitimate. That's no, that is not.
Well, I've never covered that, so I might just be, in my head.
It's rose colored glasses that people are looking at this as. It's not the end all be all. Like, it's not. I know this history of the sport as good as anybody, and I'm telling you, it wasn't what you think it was. 1992 was an outlier. It was not the standard year in and year out.
Well, this has been a good debate, and I will be going on Sirius Radio Monday and Tuesday. So if you're not tired of hearing this conversation yet, and you want to get more annoyed with me and more annoyed about all the tires and all that stuff, join us on that day. Jordan, are you writing anything this week? I have a Jimmy Johnson is turning 50 this week, and I did an interview with him about his perspective on life, where he is now, all that kind of stuff. So
interesting.
Thought that was
Team is running well. Yeah. John Hunter Nemechek's been running really, really well lately. Eric Jones been turning some good runs. I look forward to reading that.
Yep. And then I'm off to sorry.
No, I was gonna say really quick. I think it's publishing this week. I filed it on Friday, but I got this really cool profile on Sam Hunt.
You've been working on that for a while.
Yeah, dude slept in his van for 6 months. I don't know if people know that story or not, but guy decided he wanted to own a NASCAR team. Lived in Virginia, packed up his stuff, moved down here, lived in a van, parked at a race shop for 6 months, and is one of the feel good guys. And there's a lot of great people in the sport, but I think Sam is certainly on. If you had to poll people on one of the favorites in the garage, Sam would probably be at or near the top of the list.
Wow, pretty cool. And then I also have a 12 questions interview with Brad Keslowski, almost the race winner from tonight, but
close.
He has some good stories on there as well. So, and by the way, the 12 questions is now available in a free podcast. Just search for 12 questions. Separate feed than this, but if you want to check that out. And by the way, I don't even know if I guess if you're hearing this on Sunday, I don't know how long it's live on Monday. But The Athletic, I talked about it on here before, and I didn't know it was happening to this week. But The Athletic is running one of those $1 a month deals, Jordan, and everybody's like, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to, all that stuff that I complain about. But if you go to theathletic.com/subscribe, you can get this $1 a month fall sports sale, $1 a month for the entire first year, and you can cancel every time. It's not even charging you everything right away. So if you get angry or tired with Jordan or me, I guess.
I'm beloved. I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's supposed to run through Monday. So jump on that if you want to read us for $1 a month for new subscribers. So anyway, New Hampshire next week. We'll see how that goes. Rolling into round 2. So everybody, thanks as always for listening. We will talk to you next time on The Teardown. See you, everybody.